Today, we're going to be working with the Quest 3 again. We're going to do some Blazor, and we're going to see how easy it is to deploy Blazor apps to the Quest 3 using Blazor Hybrid with MAUI. We'll kind of mess around with that a little bit and talk about what our options are as far as MAUI goes and what other ways we can deploy to the Meta App Store using Blazor in the future. You will see me probably also switch cameras. This is a known issue of mine where my camera and the Quest don't like to play together. So if you see my camera go off or you see the quality drop, it's probably because of that. It'll probably get pretty dark. I'll switch over to my alternate cam and show you what I mean. This is my Logitech camera, and it looks like I'm sitting in the dark even though I've got like 9 different lights pointing at my face right now. Don't know what's going on with my Logitech cam, but my other camera is literally my phone, and it's Android based, and so is the Quest. And when you plug both of those into the PC, they like to argue with one another. So you may see me drop cameras in and out of the show today, depending on what I'm doing. So if the camera quality goes down, I apologize. And if the stream quality is bad, I apologize. I don't know it's a Monday, even though it's Wednesday. I don't know. So let's get started with the show. All right, first things first. I talked a little bit about what you can do with the Quest on the last show, but it is a new device, and it is something that not everyone has. So if you have questions about it, please let me know. I will be happy to answer any questions you have about the hardware, about the software I'm using, and so on. All right. Let's talk a little bit about MAUI first, I guess. Blazor Hybrid runs on dotnet MAUI. dotnet MAUI is a cross-platform development stack that Microsoft has come out with. It's the evolution of Xamarin, and it lets us build cross-platform applications with .NET technology. And then there is a variant of this that includes a Blazor stack on top of it. So what we can do is just kind of create a new project here, and we'll talk through exactly what it is that I've got in my system here that I'm building. Let's get the good old Zoom tool back up here. And we'll use Zoom it to show the .NET MAUI Blazor Hybrid app. If you install Visual Studio 2022, you should have this if you have the mobile workloads installed. I think this is pretty normal to have this with the ASP.NET tooling installed, but if you don't see it, just go to your workloads, look for cross-platform and enable it through there, and you should be able to get this template in Visual Studio. There's also command line installers for this as well. But we will do a new .NET Blazor Hybrid MAUI app, and we'll talk about what is inside the scaffolded project. Let's call this Blazor Power AR. There we go. And this is going to be a .NET 8 app. We'll go ahead and create that. And that's about all the options that we have with the new project tools. And then once you're here, let me try to adjust my screen size. Maybe it'll stream a little bit better. You might be able to read a little bit clearer. We'll drop this down to 1920 by 1080, which is nice HD. Whoops. Let's try that again. And hopefully that comes through just a little bit better, and I'll zoom in as well. This is the hello page here, but let's focus on what our project scaffolded out first. So we've got a Blazor Hybrid solution here. You'll notice it looks a lot like a Blazor application. If you've done any Blazor before, this probably looks really familiar. We've got components, We've got imports.razor and then routes.razor. And then there's some other things in here that may not look as familiar. Oh yeah, don't forget the www root, very web thing to do here. Inside of the platforms folder, you'll find the platforms that .NET MAUI can deploy to. And we've got Android, iOS, Mac, Tizen, and Windows. For us, this Android one is going to be really important because, again, the Quest is an Android platform. You'll also see we've got a MAUI or a main page .xaml and a MAUI program CS. Those are not things that are common to Blazor applications. This is part of the Blazor Hybrid on .NET MAUI template. And essentially, these are your boot up items for your application. So main page.xaml is the entry point for your MAUI application, the UI entry point. And when the user interface boots up, it's going to hit this Blazor web view. The Blazor web view is a specialized web view that has a couple Blazor hooks on it. And it looked like Microsoft is working on versions of this for JavaScript apps as well. So you might be able to do this with Angular and React soon. You could technically do it now, but it doesn't have any kind of built-in functionality. It's something you kind of have to deploy yourself. But right now we can use Blazor WebView very easily with this Blazor Hybrid on .NET MAUI stack. And what this Blazor WebView is going to do is take over the UI portion of the application and let us write Blazor application code, UI code, and display it inside of this Android shell, basically. So when we compile this application out, we'll get an APK, and APKs are pretty friendly with the Oculus Quest. All right, so you'll see in the Blazor WebView that it points towards a host page called index.html. You'll find that up here in www.root. And this is basically just an HTML page. What makes it Blazor is this blazor.webview.js file that is referenced here. And that's going to boot up the Blazor framework inside of this page. And then once we boot up that Blazor framework, we can jump over to MAUI program.cs. And actually, sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. We're going to boot up into components. Let's see here. They changed things slightly. We're going to go in, boot up our routes. And our routes will boot the main layout and so on and so forth. We will have our Blazor application running inside of that shell. And I've got it set to Windows machine here. Let's go ahead and give it a quick run. And we can see that we can deploy this very web-centric app to the Windows desktop. And what this is nice is we can deploy not only to the Windows desktop, but all these other platforms as well with the same web-based code for UI and business logic. So you see we've got a counter app, simple interactivity, and our weather app here that kind of pulls in some data and loads it up. Bindle is up. So that's our basic Blazor app, right? It's inside of that MAUI shell, but for all intents and purposes, it looks just like a Blazor application. So the main work for the application that we'll probably be doing is in these components that are under pages, under home, and anything else that we decide to kind of pick at today. But the main thing is trying to figure out where does this fit in the operations of deploying to the Quest. So there's a couple ways to deploy web apps to the Quest. One of them is through .NET MAUI, which we're going to look at today. The other one is by using the Meta CLI to wrap the application, any web application uh, that fits a progressive web app criteria. And you can wrap that and deploy that to the Quest as well. And these live on the Quest as a 2D flat application that can be displayed in augmented reality. There's several examples of AR apps that are showing up in the Quest store. I showed some of those last week. If you were here, you might have seen them. No, I'll kind of glance over those again when we go into the Quest and show off what some of those are. And then, of course, there's the trending Apple hardware. That's the Vision Pro. People are talking about that quite a bit recently. And there's a lot of flat apps there. Mainly, that's all they're doing in Apple land is flat apps. I haven't really seen any killer VR or immersive apps in the Apple Vision Pro yet, but it's just coming out, so we'll see. But I'm really not really anticipating anything there. They've got the power on that hardware. They don't have controllers though. Controllers might not seem like a big deal, but they are when you start doing like very uh, fine motor skill type of things. So, working with some pinch gestures and stuff is okay. Maybe touching a virtual keyboard or pressing on some buttons, hand tracking works all right, but they don't have any kind of tracked controller that they're using with the headset. Yeah, Apple doesn't really like things from outside their store. Meta doesn't really either, although they do allow things to happen in the web browser, and I'm sure Meta probably will as well. But one of the things that surprises me about their headset is they don't have a controller. And these are kind of fundamental to being able to interact with, like I said, finer motor skill things. And we'll even try to test drive some ideas with the controllers when we throw some things inside the headset today. One of the things we can look at is how UI components interact with gestures versus a controller. All right. So I've got Windows machine selected here. I'm going to go ahead and select an Android emulator real quick. I'll choose the Pixel 5, and we'll go ahead and let this build out, and I'll talk a little bit more because building that first APK usually takes a while. Um, if you don't have that option for your own development environment, you may need to go in and set up some of your own Android emulation devices in the manager. So to Android SDK manager, you'll see all of your devices in here, and you may have to add some of the Android platforms in here before you see the emulators come up. And then, of course, there is also under that Android menu the device manager that will show the mobile devices. And there's my Pixel 5, and it's important to try to keep these updated as well. Too far. And again, it takes a while for these things to build the first time around. So we've got our APK starting to build out, and it's launched the device. It's going to try to deploy it next. So that's our first place we want to start. One reason we want to start here is they're both Android systems. The Quest 3, which I have down here, by the way, I haven't shown that yet. The Quest 3 and the Android devices are very, very similar. So we're going to get a lot of similar behaviors out of the two. And if we can launch the app for the Android emulator, we can probably launch the app for the headset as well. And that's going to be a nice kind of sanity check there. So there we go. There's our Blazor application running on mobile now. So you can see here, we've got the same counter component, weather component available in the Android emulation. I'm not aware of a Quest emulator that I can load in here. I'll do a little bit of research on that and see if there's something that's available for the Windows desktop. I just started deploying directly to my device. I'm dropping some frames. I might need to reboot router and come back if that's gonna keep happening. So let me know if the show, Dindle, let me know if the frames keep dropping and if you're not hearing my audio or whatever. And we might take a break and come back. All right. So here's my Android emulator. There are, of course, different devices that you can load up in this. One thing that I need to look into with MAUI is they kind of default to this portrait mode versus like a landscape. And I think that's normal for an Android device, and they're mostly their intended audience. But you'll also notice it does this in the Quest, which is kind of weird. All right. So we kind of proved we can deploy to the Windows desktop. We can deploy to an Android device. Another thing that we want to look at before we really get started is a tool that I showed last week called the MetaQuest Developer Hub. This is a very helpful tool when you're doing any Quest development. We'll pull that guy up and take a quick tour again. But one of the things that we're going to be using is this device manager. And the device manager, and this is where things get a little tricky with my camera. It starts recognizing my camera, and it can do weird things with my my camera and freezing it. And we'll have to unplug and take the dark Logitech camera of doom that makes it look like I'm broadcasting from a cave in a hillside somewhere. So we'll probably have to swap that out once we start using this tool. But there are these ADB command tools as well. And then let's say this is under, I'm trying to remember where I found this because you're going to have to get started. And I think it's under downloads here. Yeah. So under downloads in this is a lot of helpful tools for working with the Quest. And here's a simulator we might be able to take advantage of. Although it says Unity, Unreal, and Native. I don't know if this is something I can open from Visual Studio. Yeah, there are some caves out here. We'll probably find some moonshine out in my area. But for some reason, my Logitech camera likes to make it really dark in here. But there's some dev tools in here. And one of the things that I have installed, oh, this is not installed. Could have swore I installed it on this system. There are drivers in here that, let's see, that I thought, okay, here's the ADB drivers. And I did install those, thought they were on this system. It's telling me they're not. So they may not be required. So I will pause on saying that that's required. But if you're troubleshooting not being able to connect to your Quest, that might be helpful to have. I'm not going to go ahead and add it since it was working last week. I think I installed them on my laptop maybe, where I also do dev on this. So still trying to get acquainted with the tools. I thought that was a requirement, but maybe it's not. All right, so you'll notice on my Visual Studio instance here, I have that Pixel 5 selected. If I drop this down, I've got a lot of options here. One of those is Android local devices. And my camera, oops, I didn't mean to click on build there. Let's see if I can cancel that. So you can see my actual Google Pixel 6, which is my camera. So that's showing up as a connected device. Let's try connecting the Quest now. Let's see what happens. So I've got the USB cable that came with the Quest is probably your best option unless you bought some special cables. Um, getting the video feeds off of the Quest and doing high, like even just the camera that I use, you need some good quality cables. So if you don't have good quality USB 3.0 cables, you might want to buy some if you plan on doing some of this, especially longer ones. I'll have to put together some recommendations, but the one that comes with the Quest 3 docking station is pretty good length and plugs right into the headset here, has good enough bandwidth you could probably stream from it. So I'll use that one. I've got a couple. Again, this one that I've plugged into my camera is a UNI USB 3.0 cable that I bought off of Amazon for roughly $25, $30. And it can handle full streaming of video. And that's kind of what you want for something like this. So now under Android devices, you'll see I have Quest 3. And that's just about how easy it is with MAUI and Visual Studio is load up that MAUI app, plug in your Quest, and you're ready to deploy. So let's go ahead and launch that. It's going to take a second again. Again, first time you do these Android apps, they take a while to compile and deploy. Once you start getting into a normal build cycle, they don't take that long at all. So we'll let that one build out, and while that's going, we'll see what's on inside my device being active here. Let's see if I can change it that way. There we go. So it looks like that drop down helped. Does it support hot reload? It's supposed to. I don't know how well it works though. And yeah, if I'm dropping frames, it is something with my internet. We've got bad weather here, and sometimes when we have bad weather, the internet takes a dive. A lot more people start working from home, and it makes the network infrastructure pretty congested in this area. So that could be part of it. So I could try rebooting my router, but it may not help. Yesterday, we had like all the kids in the area doing school from home and everything. I'm watching the meter bounce, and so it's like it's good and it's bad. It's kind of in and out. And I just saw as I was taking a sip of my tea there, the MAUI app, Blazor Power Hour AR, literally just popped up in this window, which means it deployed to my headset. My headset did recognize it. So let's see what happens if I try to cast. Let's see if it'll let me cast. It says connecting. And if I run into any interference here, there's a couple things it could be. There's either a prompt on the headset that I need to go in and check out. Let me try that really fast. But let's try casting again. And it says capture and live stream air. Oh, there it goes. There we go. So that is the Blazor app that we just built running in the Quest. You can see it just kind of floating in between my monitors here. So if I can get this is where controllers come in handy because working in tight quarters, it's hard to grab things um, without bumping into monitors and whatnot. So the controllers give you a little bit more fidelity. And what's nice is I can move this around. There's also the ability to kind of put this in a tablet mode. And I'll try to look over here while I do it. It's a little bit easier to see that it's kind of in this augmented space now. And there's our app. Let's try popping it back out there. And with our app like this, we can kind of multitask. So we can move this to different positions in the UI here, and we could also come over and we could do a remote desktop display. And I hope you can hear me all right. You might need to shift by the microphone a little bit better. We could do a remote desktop back into our Visual Studio instance. I can't show you that exactly with the live stream because of the hollow mirror effect you're going to get here. Let's move this down off the screen. But there we go. Actually, that may be streaming okay. Let me know what you see exactly here. Oh, you're just going to see Visual Studio right now. Let's see. We got to pull it back up this way, and you're going to get hollow mirrors. So this is going to be an awkward thing to try to stream. But basically what you have is Visual Studio running here in this window, your app running there in that window. And if I try to do that here, you're going to either get a hall of mirrors or you're just going to get Visual Studio itself. So there's some learning curve to streaming with this thing. We'll get there. I promise we'll figure it out somehow. But there's try to imagine. I can kind of see this is obfuscating most of your view there. But we've got our Hello World app here, and we've got Visual Studio available through this remote desktop app. And we could also, so we can see the Hello World app there, but I can't see my desktop because it's, if I show my desktop, if I show an app on my desktop, it's going to overlay the actual stream. So we can do that. We can also pull up a browser. This can be handy if you're looking at docs or whatever. But it also shows kind of how you can multitask with the app that you build. So if you're an end user, you're not the developer, you can resize the app that you have in these panels. And you can kind of multitask, put them side by side. You can have your desktop shown in here as well. And these are giant screens. They're very easy to read. The font size and everything is perfect with those. So I actually don't need that on my face really. Just show it this way here. So again, giant screens, lots of multitasking. You can have up to 3 here in the UI, 3 panels. And if you want more than 3, you have to go with some special software. And it is possible, but it's not the norm. This is what normies will be using, is this little dashboard UI that the Quest has. All right, so let's see. Can you run a MAUI app as a picture inside something else, like a game? So the OS, I don't believe, supports multi-window UIs. I don't think that's a thing on Android. So you'd have to have different instances of the app running. Up into Visual Studio here, we can also, let's see, let's pull the browser up. We'll do Chrome here on the desktop. And we will say Chrome inspect. And you'll notice that when we do Chrome inspect, we will get access to the browser that is running inside of that VR headset. So this is the actual app running in the Quest. We're kind of tunneling into it right now. And you can't really interact with it, but what you can do is you can come into the elements here. I know this works. I've done it before. You can do some inspection in here, but for some reason, not getting it right now. You can see the CSS. There we go. There's the HTML being rendered. That's not a great representation of it though, because this is not the modified version. There we go. Now it's showing it. I don't know why it wasn't showing it before. So this is the live DOM from the app on the device. And let's see if I pull up the device here again. Let's make that kind of on screen. Let's get my pointer here. I'm going to try to change the UI a little bit, go to another page or something. Counter, we'll increment the counter a couple times. And we'll set that back down so we can see we're on current count 3. If I come back here, you can see that we are on current count of 3. So it's mirroring what's happening in the device. This is a live debugging view into the HTML. Can I click it with my finger too? Okay, that's actually a great question, Thindle. So you're talking about the UI inside the headset. Can I click it with my finger? So let's see what we got for interactions, because I said I'd actually talk about this a little bit. It's a good segue into it. I'm going to strap this back on my noggin for a minute. And you can pinch with your hand. So you should be able to see like an herb right there in my hand. And that kind of directs this reticle on the screen. And I can tap with that. Let's try to bring the UI closer to where I can actually touch it. We'll do that through this little tablet mode it has. This lets me drag it real close to my my space here, and then notice we can't even see our hand. So the hand is kind of occluded. Oh, actually, there it goes. Look at that. Can't say I've ever tried that before. Thank you, Thindle. So you got to kind of hold your hand there for a minute, tell it your intent, and yes, you can physically tap on the Blazor app and close that window, go to a different page maybe, weather, and back. So we can sit here and touch on it. So it does have the capability to do that. You do have to get it in mode where it recognizes that's what you're trying to do. Otherwise, it's doing like a pointer. Look at that. I can even select like that. I am learning new things along with you today. I did not know I could do copy and paste with that. So that's a new one. Can I actually paste? Does it have a clipboard? Look at that. Current count right there. So yeah, you've got nice touch interactions in tablet mode. I don't think that's a thing in this, what is this mode called here? What do they call it? Distance mode. So I switch distance. It's too far away to actually touch. And it's including my hand again. It's not recognizing my hand as, it's purposely, I think, including my hand there. And then when I switch back to this, let's see if it'll bring my hand back up. The controller had to shut off. That's what it is. So in this close distance mode, I do have the ability to manipulate this with my hands. That brings up an excellent point, though. So let's go to a familiar website here. Let's go to Telerik.com, and that was a misclick. This takes a little getting used to. Telerik.com. And I'm actually going to pick up my controller for this. This is one of those things where I think Apple is missing out. Uh, Touch gestures are great and all, but being able to scroll very quickly and easily with a controller and not have your hand touching the UI like this, um, especially after arm day at the gym, right, guys, ladies? This is not where you want to be hanging your arm out in the air all day. Um, Having a controller where you can sit comfortably and just scroll with the thumbstick is nice. So I'm pressing the thumbstick, which you're seeing a virtual controller, by the way. This is actually being rendered um, as a 3D uh, model right here. This isn't the actual controller that you see. But if we go over to demos, and you'll see I have a mouse click with this front uh, button here. We'll go over to demos, launch some Blazor demos. And there is a finance portfolio sample on here. And the original reason I actually visited this page was because I wanted to see if this would prompt me to install a progressive web app on the Quest, which it does not. And there's a reason, I believe, for that. And that is because they want to control the apps being installed on the device through the App Store. And I think Apple's got the same approach to that. So it's kind of a walled garden there, but they are allowing progressive web apps in. They just have to be wrapped in an APK and delivered to the store or through the store. So I can touch interact with these. I put the controller down. So the controllers have to shut off. There they went off. And now I can touch and interact here like this. So there's that touch interactivity. Let's see what we've got here. We can, it's hard to hit it, but we can do it. So we can scroll this timeline with our finger, but if we pick up the controller again, I can press on the joystick and I can move the timeline in and out by pressing on this thumbstick left or right. So if I press to the left, it opens up, and I press to the right, it collapses. So these are gestures that you can get out of the box with the controller that you don't get with the hand gestures. And the fidelity of being able to point like this, you can see the XY coordinates coming up as I travel over the surface here. It's a lot more precise than trying to get my meat sticks up here and tap on this virtual screen in front of me. So I can scroll pretty good. It's not too bad. It's a little jumpy here and there, but the controllers let you do it at a distance with a lot more precision. So there are advantages to having the controllers. I can even scroll the window here by using the thumbstick up and down rather than having to kind of drag the surface here. So there's that. Let's see, what other interactions do we have? Mostly it's this click button. There are other buttons on the controller, but I don't believe they really do anything with web UI. So it's mainly click. I don't know if there's like a right click or anything. I haven't really seen one. But you've got your control stick and your pointer clicker. So that's going to be the same, I believe, here with our Android app running in MAUI. So we've got that same kind of web gesture possibility here. And again, these apps, you can change the size of them inside of the UI here, but you have to be oddly enough, in this mode, or they default to this size here. I need to look into the MAUI docs and see if this is a setting. I feel like this has to be a setting that I keep going into this portrait mode. I'd rather that app be widescreen like this, but it doesn't keep that mode when I go into the near distance, like tablet style mode of the Quest. So there's that to consider as well. Sorry if that made anybody dizzy putting that down, but like I said, working in this environment is a little strange and takes some getting used to. We'll figure it out. We'll figure how to stream it better the more we do it. But this is again the Chrome DevTools console that I've got up here, and this lets you kind of debug things. You can go directly and see errors in the console if something were to go wrong. Impressed with the resolution? Yeah, it really has great resolution. Oh, you're going to get that Quest 3. Let me know. I will send you a link to get us both some Quest store credit if you're going to buy one. So that's one thing that people can do is invite other people to the platform, and you get kind of the store credit thing that you can share back and forth. That's really neat. So the obligatory yellow screen of death little banner that you can get in a Blazor app that comes up and is like exception, yada yada yada. Actually, we can probably see one of those. We'll throw one in just so you can see what it's like to troubleshoot something on the device. When you bought your Polestar and the oh, that would have been nice. Those Polestars are nice, by the way. I imagine they have a better track record than Tesla right now. Teslas are apparently not doing well in sub-zero temperatures. So, the Polestar being used where it's being used, would imagine is better at handling the cold than the Tesla. For some reason, I can't get out of my Quest session here. It's not closing the app. Let's try killing the cast and stopping the app remotely. There we go. I was able to stop it remotely. Maybe the debugger or something had it hung, because I did have the debugger open. But let's go into home here. Actually, be easier to do maybe in weather. Let's go into weather, and on weather, let's see here. We've got. I think where this would be easier. Let's remove this null check. So we'll remove the null check, and we'll go back to running this on the Quest and see what happens, right? Okay, it says my app is back up. Let's try casting it again. And I purposely threw a bug in the app. So there's the app. Controller here. So we will try navigating now to the weather page. And there we go. There's the error screen I was talking about. So now we've got the unhandled error has occurred. And we can reload the page. That's not going to help us debug this, though, and see what went wrong. And that's where the remote debugger can come in really handy. So we'll jump back over to DevTools. We might need to just reopen it from scratch here, and it's going to be this app. And there's our error message down at the bottom. Non-handled error has occurred, and this is happening inside of in the headset. But we can actually see what's causing the error now. If we come over here to the console section, you'll see object reference not set to an instance of an object, your classic null reference exception, and at least we know where to look. It says weather.razor line 18. If we go back to our app, line 18 is where it starts to for each over this this list of forecast items, and that is where the null reference occurs. So we can easily debug, and thank you, Thindle, appreciate that. That's where we can debug our Quest app remotely with the web browser from our desktop. And again, I can see this Visual Studio instance, and I can open this from within the headset. I don't need to leave the headset and come to my desktop to do it, because I can start a remote desktop session on this device, and I can see it that way. That's the hard part about streaming, is I can't really communicate that very well. Essentially, let's see what this would look like. It's a hall of mirrors. I can't really show. It says tab is inactive. You can kind of get the gist of it with the hall of mirror effect here, though. That is what I'm seeing inside the Quest, so I could actually sit and debug with the Quest on and see what that error was without taking it off my head. Really don't have to jump in and out of the Quest itself. For live streaming, on the other hand, makes things just a little bit difficult. All right, so we'll go ahead and stop that app again. Let's see if it actually quits inside the Quest. Yeah, it actually stopped that time. So you get that real-time monitoring here, which is nice. Let's stop casting as well for a minute, just to kind of save us some power here. This thing is very power hungry, as I mentioned on the previous show. Probably, even though I'm plugged in, probably draining the battery a little bit. We can see, yeah, we're at 84% battery, even though it's plugged into the PC, because it's in development mode in AR. It's been casting. It will draw more power than the USB cable can supply. All right. So we've got the Quest. We've got Blazor on the Quest, rather. We saw how we can debug and troubleshoot with it. I want to show something else off that I think is going to be very helpful to folks. Let's go ahead and go back to the start window here. And I've got an app in here called Ultimate Blazor app. This is up on my GitHub page. This is a much bigger application, even though it looks pretty similar. It has the same amount of functionality, but the infrastructure is a bit deeper. So I've got, let's open this in solution view so we can see it a little better. I've got several projects in here. I've got the Blazor app project, a Blazor MAUI project, a server project, some tests, and a WebAssembly project. The way this works is all of my components are in this Blazor app. So this is all of my, I have it under features instead of pages, weather, all of my layouts, all of my components are in the Blazor app. The MAUI app doesn't have anything in it. It just references the Blazor app. The Blazor server app references the Blazor app. The Blazor WebAssembly solution here, project, it references the Blazor app and is served by the server. Okay. So that's how the server actually serves up the Blazor app. At no time is the Blazor server, or is the server app rendering any Blazor UI. So what I can do with this is So you saw me deploy to the Pixel before. You saw me deploy to the Windows machine. What you didn't see me do with that last project is this. I'm going to switch over to the server, set that as my startup project, and I'll hit run. And I can deploy to the web now. So there is the Blazor app running on the web. I have my counter, and I have fetch data. That same application, I could come into Solution Explorer and say run. Actually, let's stop this for a moment, and let's do run without debugging. Boot the server back up, and we'll also do a quick weather here. API/weather. Let me find the endpoint real fast. I guess it was weather. Don't have an API weather, it's just weather. There we go. So there's our JSON data that's being kicked out by the server. That's all the server is responsible for doing, is serving JSON data and serving the index HTML of the Blazor WebAssembly app, which then references the Blazor app components. So I'm able to deploy this to iOS, Android, and the web. So I can multi-target the heck out of this thing. But one of the problems you'll notice here is if I try to run this on my Quest, we'll switch over to the MAUI app here. I need to set that as my startup project. So I can select a new device off of this. And I'm going to select on here Android devices, Quest 3 again. We'll run that. It might take a second to build. I think you folks will like this new trick that I'm going to show you. Something that was released along with .NET 8 is not part of .NET 8, but it just got released with it. Right. I'm going to pull up this screen here. There we go. Looks like it's been deployed and it's running. So we'll go back and cast this out. We're connecting, and there's the awkward view of the back of my desk. We zoom back a little bit. There is our Hello World app. Now, on our Hello World app, I'm going to open the window here, and we'll go to the counter page. There's our counter page. Nothing really new so far. Click weather. Oh, there's an error. Okay. There's an error on our weather page. I knew that was going to happen. There's a reason I'm showing you this. Let's go back to Chrome. We'll use Chrome to see why I'm getting an error on that weather page. It's not the null reference like I had before. This is a different app. This time, you'll see I've got a 404 not found. So this is the weather component here. And if I open up the weather component, you'll see I have a weather service where I'm calling get from JSON async / weather. And the URL that it's going to hit for that weather service, let's see, is it displayed here anywhere? You can go to network, right? Let's try, I can't hit reload from there. Let me see if I can pull this up in the network profiler first before I say where exactly it is, and you're welcome to guess as well. Loading again. And let's see, which weather request is it? It should be /weather. I don't want the app route. I want the actual JSON request it's trying to do. That's not it. That's the page. I'm not seeing that failed request in here. Don't know why. Not quite sure why. It should be something /weather. But I'll just explain what it is. I thought I could troubleshoot it through here. We could at least see in here that we've got a 404 hitting on our HTTP ensure status code line of code inside of HTTP client. So this is blowing up on the device. The reason is, if I pull up my browser again, look at the URL I'm using on my desktop to get to the weather. Okay. Do you know why that's a problem on the Quest? It works fine on my desktop, but it fails on the Quest. The Quest doesn't know what localhost is. They're not on the same network. This is an internal IP address for my PC here. I'm not going to be able to hit this from an external device. So what do? I really want to debug this on my Quest. I'm going to go ahead and stop this from running for a moment so we can take a look at our options. So the server runs here locally and it loads up on localhost. The MAUI app gets launched inside the Quest. Outside of the PC, has no clue what localhost is. You will probably notice it's kind of grayed out here, but I can zoom in on it. It does loop back to 0000, which is usually port forwarded to localhost. It's still not 100% at getting you to that server app. It doesn't do authentication properly, certificates, that sort of thing. Sometimes you can get minimal things to work through that loopback address, but there is a new tool in here. Let's see. I'm trying to remember how to get to it. Trying to remember where the setting is at for that. There is a new. It's not browser link. Where did it go? I know it's in here. I probably have to be on the server project. Let's do this as a setup startup project. Yeah, there it is. It's going to be under this menu here, dev tunnels. Okay, so there's this new setting. If you drop this down, go into dev tunnels, and it says no active tunnel. And you run that, no active tunnel. You can do create new tunnel. You can do show dev tunnels. Do I have any dev tunnels? Doesn't look like, okay, there's no tunnels. So we'll create a new tunnel. Name is only showed in Visual Studio. We'll say Quest 3 test. Temporary tunnel. This determines the lifetime of the URL. A persistent tunnel will typically reuse the same URL. Temporary will create a new URL every time Visual Studio is restarted. That could be problematic, I think. I'm going to choose persistent. I'm going to turn this off shortly after the show, so if you want to see the weather data on your screen, you'll be able to. I'll make this public so it doesn't prompt me for any credentials, and I'll hit OK. Be wary if you're doing more than just weather data, that might not be the best option for you security wise. Dev tunnel has been created and it is not started. Now I'm going to drop this box down again, and I have dev tunnels, and that is selected. Let's go ahead and run that without debugging. And when I run it without debugging, so it says you're about to connect to a developer tunnel. Sure, that's fine. And there's my Blazor app running just like it would have in localhost. I'm going to copy this URL. My weather service is still running here. And you may actually, I'll put this in chat if somebody wants to test this out. See if you can run that Blazor app from your machine. I wouldn't trust any random developer URL like that and okay to it because you don't know what's on the other side of that URL. But for this stream, you're okay. You can click on that. Let me know if it works. Let me know if you can see the Blazor app running on your desktop right now, because you should be tunneling it from my local computer here onto your screen. Virus successfully downloaded. There you go. It's working. It's working. So we've got that. I should be able to come over to my MAUI, and then I can do start new instance here. And it still should be configured to my Quest. Still should have the last configuration I set up. If not, I can, it's a Quest. I could always swap over, since I did a run without debugging on that. I could always swap over and run it from there. Let's see what we get. Yeah, you will get a warning because it's a developer thing. You have to okay it for specific like purpose that I'm not setting up like for example, if I made a fake Bank of America site and then sent you a link to it and you didn't try to log in with your bank credentials or something like that, thinking it was the real Bank of America site. All right, so let's try reconnecting didn't work last time. Let's kill that. We'll reopen this. It is running on the Quest again. Jump over to the Quest. Let's see if we fix the problem. All right, come on. All right, there we go. And weather and loading and okay. So 404 not found. It's still looking at the old address for that app. So I'm going to stop this again. And what we need to do is dive into the code a little bit. It's actually going to be in the Blazor app here. And there's an iWeather service. Actually, it's going to be under, I'm trying to remember where this goes. You'll bear with me for a moment. I think I actually have to go into the MAUI app. And it's going to be where I register. So it's going to be on the individual app. My mistake there. So on the MAUI app itself, I need to go into Program CS, and where the HTTP client instance gets launched, I need to put my dev tunnel in there. You can see my past dev tunnel was in there. So the server should still be running. And now I'm going to go back to my MAUI app here and tell it to run a new instance. I got some questions here. Does the Quest just run the web app, or is it building something separate? It is actually building something separate. So it's an excellent question. When I build this out, the server gets built separately. The server is only supplying web API and index HTML. The index HTML comes from this WebAssembly project, and it references the dependencies in this Blazor app up here. So that's where all the UI bits are taken from. And if I visit this from the web, that's where they come from. If I run the MAUI app, it's a similar scenario. It creates, so it compiles into an APK. I know I can type this, but I'll just sketch it. Compiles that into an APK. Inside of that APK is the MAUI app that has inside of it a web view, and that web view is where our Blazor application is living. So the server is not involved in this APK or the UI or any of it whatsoever. But when we go to the weather forecast page, the app will ask for data. So it will call out to the endpoint here and pull back some JSON data. And if that endpoint can't be hit, then it throws an error. If it gets the JSON data back, we're in good graces. So let's see what we've got now. The app is up and running in here. It means I can see it through my headset. And now if I go over to the Quest, weather, look at that. The error is gone. I have my weather. It's connecting to my PC that is sitting over there and getting the web server from that PC, connecting to it. Now that they're able to talk, I can have my app working. This goes beyond just the Quest. I think it's a nice demo to show it with the Quest, but in reality, any Android application is going to act like this, even if it's in an emulator. So if I were to open an emulator up, so I go back to my MAUI app and change the MAUI app to run on an Android emulator, this one will work just fine too. Emulators have the same problem. Emulators do not run in the context of the network of your local host. They don't know where that is. A connected device as well. Since I'm not on this camera, I can just pull it down and I should be able to launch on my device as well. So loading up the emulator first. So we launched this on Quest. We can launch it in an emulator here, and the weather is working fine here because we have that dev tunnel open. And I can also come in this here and go down to local devices. Pixel 6 is what I've got in my hand. We'll build that guy out. And I'll launch it on my device here as well. And just to bring things kind of full circle here, when that comes up, I'll give a unique look at it. We're still deploying to that device. These first builds are pretty, oh, there it goes. It's launching on my device now. And I'll give you a view into what I'm looking at through the Quest. So again, sorry for the Hall of Mirrors. What we'll do is, let me pull up my remote desktop real quick. And let's jump back over to that address bar. Where is my address bar? Do I still have it on my clipboard? Okay, there it is. Let's see. Okay, I still have the dev tunnel on my clipboard. So just to show how the dev tunnel works, I'm going to go ahead and open the URL, paste, Control V. There we go. Open the dev tunnel on the headset, and let's see here. There we go. Trying to get this lined up and then show you what I'm seeing. Okay, they got the Hall of Mirrors there. Let's get rid of that. That's annoying. All right, so we've got our dev tunnel website here. I'll hit continue. So I can open my app through the website that's being loaded by my Blazor server, or sorry, my ASP.NET server that's on my desktop there. So I can open that remotely. And then check this out. This is my device. You can probably see that fairly well because it looks okay through the Quest for me. There's our physical app running on the device. That's on a Pixel device. I dropped my remote there, so I'll try to minimize this way. Let's grab the remote desktop session back one more time. We'll jump back in to Visual Studio for just a moment. And what we can do here, let's see, I have to stop it running. I need to remember to do this without debugging. Let's run this without debugging. Debug, start without debugging. Let that boot back up. And then we'll come in and change this to, now I'm just showing off. We'll do this, we'll do run without debugging. And let that open up. In the meantime, I'm going to grab my controller. It dropped on the floor. We'll go ahead and minimize that. So we've got our app running here, our app running here. And I accidentally closed that. You can also find the app if you do this in the Quest, unknown sources, and we could reload it there since I accidentally closed it. Or not. It's not going to do it now that I said that. Rerun it one more time on my phone. There we go. It's being stubborn. I had it up and I wanted to show the browser too, and now it's mad because I wanted to multitask. There we go. That did the trick. This one's going to error out because it didn't have the URL in it. Let's try one more time. See if we can get them all going. See if we can get them all going. This one, I think it's launching the wrong end. There it goes. Okay. There we go. We've got all the screens. There, we have Blazor everywhere, right? We get it on our physical Android device. We've got it on our physical Quest device. And we've got it in the browser on the Quest. How about that? Is that good for a demo? All right, it's promising. I will say that I haven't done anything hardware specific yet. So, see, did I show that right? Did was I in? Let me make sure I was in the. Did I have the screen casting up? I want to make sure because if I didn't have it up, there we go. Make sure that everybody got to see that. Streaming this is hard because I got to remember I have to have the streaming app up there. Let's see. I'm going to try something just for the sake of uh, trying to see what's possible while I stream. Let me jump back over to StreamYard for a moment. And this is probably a good time to ask questions if you have any. We're going to end out the show here in just a minute. I'm going to try to project another screen and see if I can. Let's stop that screen share, present screen share of a window. Quest Developer Tools. Did I close it? I don't think I closed it. I don't see that. There it is. Okay. I do have, it keeps moving. Why is it moving? This is interesting. I can't select. There it goes. Share. Ah, maybe that'll work. Trying to get rid of that Hall mirrors. Right. This is all through the quest now. There we go. This might be the mode I need. It's just sharing the right perspective. If I'm on this mode, you can see me work in Visual Studio from the quest better. And I don't think you'll have the Hall of Mirror effect anymore. So let me know if this works for you. If I do remote desktop now, it's remote desktop. And if I pull up Visual Studio, now you can see, there we go. Is it black? It's all black. No, it's all black. It's not working. It doesn't want to stream my casting app. I have to physically have the casting app up. I can't use Visual Studio, it blacks it out. Oh, streaming technology, why? How dare you? Wonder if I can move it to another physical monitor. There we go. Is that working now? That seems to be working, chat. So now you see what I'm seeing. Let's see. All right. Does this view work for you all? Does that work? Can you see me working in Visual Studio from? I may need to get another monitor, physical monitor in here. So the Quest's version of the stream looks better. But, or I could turn that sideways actually. Yeah, I'll mess with that later, but I think I figured it out. Now you can see what my view looks like a little bit better. So this is what you work with in Visual Studio. I can actually see this very well from my point of view. This is good enough to get in and code on. Try to sit closer to the microphone here. So the resolution on there is good enough to code in. And you can also blow this up so it's even bigger. And I can see it that way very well. So if I need to come in here and do work or troubleshoot, I don't need to leave the Quest. I have this giant Visual Studio monitor. I do need to be by my physical mouse and keyboard. I still need to test out whether I can use a what do you call it? A Bluetooth mouse and keyboard. So that's something I haven't quite tested yet. And then see, let me go black for a second. All right, now you can see my StreamYard. We're going to get that Hall of Mirrors for a second there again. I will fix this though, so you can see much better from my point of view. I will set my other monitor up. It's currently set up for StreamYard, but now I know how to run this from StreamYard, and you can see from my view without the desktop interfering with the stream, because I know you can see Visual Studio now from StreamYard. So this works good. Hey, we figured something out while we're live on the show. Sorry if that was more or less entertaining for some people, but it was a necessary evil for us to fix other shows. So let's drop this PC here. We'll disconnect that. And we've got, again, our MAUI application, which it won't let me drag and drop now. There we go. Our MAUI app, we launched it everywhere. We did about everything we could with it today. Next week, let's try to access some of the hardware APIs for it and see if we can maybe access like the camera on the Quest or do some Quest-specific thing with the MAUI application, because that's something I have not quite tried yet, and I think that would be fun. I might do a little research on it if I can get time before next week's show, and we can test that out and see what happens. All right, so let's get back to the real world and get StreamYard back in order. All right, there goes my dark cave cam. You can see me on. Things I need for the show, maybe a better webcam, maybe another monitor. Let's see, let's do screen share, entire screen. All right, get my Hall mirrors away. All right, any questions of where I am the show? We did the Run It Anywhere app, the web, desktop, and mobile, and VR. We did a file new app. We got that to run in the Quests. We launched on a physical Android device, phone device. We did the MAUI everywhere. I guess the next step is doing something hardware related. So join me next week. We'll tinker with that. Once we burn out on some Blazor Hybrid with MAUI, we'll look into some 3D stuff maybe. In order to do 3D, I mentioned this on the previous show. In order to do 3D with the Quest, you cannot use MAUI. Because with Blazor and the frameworks for the web that do 3D development, you need access to WebXR. And WebXR is not available through MAUI on the Quest. It is a Quest limitation from what I understand. And it's something that people are starting to request, no pun intended, in the Meta developer portal. So people want to see that happen, but it has not happened yet. So you cannot do 3D operations with the web through MAUI. However, you can do a Blazor progressive web app, and you can access those 3D JavaScript libraries that way. However, they don't play well with Blazor. So we'll tackle that at a much later date. But for now, at least we know we can launch our flat app on the Quest. And I think that's really cool. And we'll see what else we can do with it next time. Until then, take care and we'll see you soon.